What's good, Bulls Nation? Welcome into CHGO Bulls Pregame, presented to you by DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. I'm Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck. It's my guy, Big Dave. He is at BAWL Sports. My guy, Will the Go Gottlieb, is at Will_Gottlieb on the Twitter machine. We are CHGO_Bulls. And here we are, another weekend back-to-back. Our producer's Joey, hanging out with us as always. Sorry, man. My brain is foggy as hell right now. Already in the comments, Josh Primo news. Weird. We will get to that. Bulls facing the Spurs down in San Antonio tonight, and the Spurs just made a very surprising roster move. We will look at that coming up for a little bit later on, but...
Okay, Reggie.
Reggie's saying no way DeMar hits 20K tonight. So you believe that he will be held to under 7 points tonight?
Yeah.
Because that's what he needs. 7 points.
Yeah.
7 puntos. I think he gets there.
Has he ever hit single digits?
I'm already on it.
Being a Bull. Thank you, Will. I like when our brains are working together.
I feel like there maybe was a DeMar game somewhere in there last season when he had single digits.
8 points
or just
or
like a
something.
quiet night for whatever reason.
I don't know.
But yes, he could have gotten it on Wednesday night, had a quiet night, I think, 17, 18 points, something like that. And so now he is on the verge of hitting those 20,000 career points, and he's doing so in San Antonio, his old home,
San Antonio.
against his old coach, Greg Popovich. And when he was talking about this career milestone after their game on Wednesday, DeMar had some interesting thoughts about it. As far as, what it means to him, and especially what it means to him to do it in San Antonio. Joey, do we have that quote from DeMar DeRozan? Going back to a place that I spent some time, learned so much from, a place that embraced me, wasn't nothing but love, and it was definitely a learning curve for me in my career at a critical time in my career. And Pop really helped me a lot in my career. I think it'll be cool to be able to do it there. Soon as I get 7 points, I'm going to go thank Pop.
Wow.
Very awesome.
Very awesome.
Just look this up here. DeMar did not score single digits at all last year. He had 6 single-digit games his last year in San Antonio in 2021. 3 of them were 6, 6, and 5. So the rest were above 8. I feel pretty good about him getting to 7 points tonight.
It's a safe bet. As Matt would say, I'm taking the over.
Yeah.
Hey,
You
I
think?
use a gambling thing.
You think I've already taken the over on DeMar's points tonight? Maybe.
Smart man.
Just an outside shot at that being the case. I mean, it's very cool. His teammates have, of course, been showering DeMar with praise since he arrived last season.
Yeah.
Zach, after the game Wednesday, said, I've said this enough. I think DeMar DeRozan is a Hall of Fame player. And, of course, when you hit a milestone like this, a player of DeMar's caliber, multi-time All-Star, some All-NBA selections as well, and then 20K points, and you think about the short list of players in the NBA in all of the years, 75 years of the NBA who have done this, you got to think that it's not like whether or not you score 20K is the defining factor in whether or not you're Hall of Fame eligible, but it's certainly a notch on the deserves to be there list, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely deserves to be there. He'll be on the borderline, I think, among voters and things like that. But getting 20,000 points in, as Will pointed out, the 54th person, because you're counting the ABA, the 54th person, but 50th in the NBA, to get 20,000 points. I don't see how you just leave that out of the Hall of Fame, really.
You can't. And by the way, I love that you have Basketball Reference there pulled up on your phone.
All the time, man. All the time.
I got to tap you.
Yeah,
too.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like DeMar is a tough case. Like, he's not a clear first ballot Hall of Famer. I feel like, Bill Simmons uses this as sort of his, like, not real, but sort of real criteria of, like, can you tell the story of basketball with or without this guy?
Right.
And I feel like the story that DeMar is most known for is, like, getting to the conference finals and losing to LeBron those couple straight years.
It's true.
So
and then dramatically getting traded away from Toronto, and then Toronto winning the chip the very next year.
But I do feel like he's really having this, like, renaissance part of his career. And I think a lot of it at this point will come down to, one, how many more points he finishes with. And we're talking about a guy who had his best season of his entire career last year at age 32.
Quite amazing.
Does not look like he's slowing down. He's going to put some more points on the board. But also, like, it's a team thing, too. So if the Bulls can, get into the playoffs and make some noise, then that certainly helps, too.
Brian in the comments saying he still has, like, 6 good years left. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. His game is built to keep playing at a high level. I think that's a great point when you think about the ways in which DeMar is dominant, especially obviously on the offensive end. You think of aging MJ, still dominant in the mid-range with the footwork, baiting people into fouls. He can be at the free throw line, sinking point after point and hitting those mid-range shots for years to come from now and onward. And, I mean, I think you can think about him not just being a guy who scored 20,000 in his career, but he'll probably hit 25 fairly easily.
True.
And then it's just a question of how much more, how much further he goes beyond that.
I'm looking at the list of the guys with 20,000 points, and the ones that aren't in the Hall of Fame, that at least I think aren't in the Hall of Fame, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Antoine Jameson.
Correct.
Tom Chambers.
Correct.
Joe Johnson.
Correct.
LaMarcus Aldridge.
Correct.
That's it.
And then our guy Rob Schaefer over at NBC had this in his write-up about DeMar's 20,000 yesterday. Shout out to Rob. Of the 44 non-active players ahead of DeMar on the all-time NBA/ABA scoring list, only 6 are not in the Hall of Fame. Chambers and Anton Jameson are 2 of them, and the others are guys who are just not eligible yet and are certainly going to go. Cool. Dirk, Vince Carter, Dwayne Wade, Pau Gasol.
Yeah, I didn't even count
Dwight
them.
Howard's in there too. He's
he's
a lock.
I didn't even count those guys.
It's a similar actually storyline to Derrick Rose, who's potentially going to be the only MVP to not make the Hall of Fame.
Right.
I think he probably just gets in there out of precedent, but
yeah. He might sneak in.
Who knows?
It's worth noting that it's not the NBA, it's the basketball. Hall of Fame.
Correct.
So
Not even pro
Derrick
basketball,
Rose
right?
has just basketball. So Derrick Rose has a strong case because he went to the national championship with Memphis.
Yes.
He won.
Yeah, but wasn't that year expunged from
school.
his collegiate record because of whatever those rule breaks were that they found?
I don't know what that means.
Am I misremembering
yeah,
that?
but all that eligibility stuff.
Are you just pretending to not know what that means? Okay,
That's what I'm doing.
All that eligibility stuff, nobody cares about.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. No.
I don't care about it. I was just trying to remember if did he technically have that season at Memphis or not? We all watched it happen. It was awesome.
It's like the Fab Four, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, or Fab Five season. You're like,
Yeah.
It happened.
And the story about DeMar and whether or not he will get there, and I think he will. It goes back to what Brian was just saying. Like, dude, DeMar's not done. Like, who knows how many points he's going to have by the end of his career?
Yeah.
How many more All-Star selections?
Yeah.
And when you think the question that you relayed, Will, there that maybe Simmons talks about, whatever is can you talk about the history of basketball with leaving that player out? And look, I mean, DeMar's had this weird label as a guy who comes up short in the playoffs or is just an empty calorie scorer for most of his career.
True.
And then you think about what he did in those few years in San Antonio, obviously after a trade that was really difficult for him to accept, and now here in his third stint, he's still evolving, which is really, really cool.
He has a similar, I think, story arc to Chris Paul in the sense that he had this really fun stretch in his early years with Chris Paul on the New Orleans Hornets, and then he sort of became a villain with the Rockets, and he was kind of like a villain with the Clippers. Same thing with DeMar, where he was just like this. He was like the face of the Raptors franchise after Vince Carter.
Definitely.
After Chris Bosh even a little bit, and then got labeled this empty calorie scorer type that you were talking about, Matt.
Can't win.
And exactly. And now he's people are catching up to it and appreciating the greatness that is DeMar DeRozan and just watching him master the game of basketball. Yeah. And I feel like when you get to that level, there aren't, regardless of the statistics or the accolades, when you talk about guys that have mastered the game, it's a pretty small list.
Yeah, and I credit Pop as he does with a lot of why his game is what it is now, because I always liken him going to the Spurs as going to graduate school. And he's been to college, he got his degree and all that, but he still needed to learn a little more. And Pop taught him more things about the game that I don't think he thought of. And these are his words. These things he has said before, like how they had him basically running that point guard role there,
right,
and just surrounding him with shooters out there. Like you said, having those games where he wouldn't even score double-digit points. It didn't matter. He was learning the game of basketball out there, and Pop is just a phenomenal teacher at that.
That he is. Before we move on, just going back to the whole DeMar Hall of Fame Derrick Rose, Hall of Fame. Reggie in the comments, I see.
Reggie again?
If guys like Kukoc and Ginobili deserve it simply for being European,
No,
Rose
oh my
deserves it
God.
for what he did before the NBA.
Matt, don't go, Matt. Don't do this.
Yikes.
Don't
brother.
do this.
Yikes.
My man.
Yikes.
I need you to do some more of that research.
Have you seen how many chips, how many MVPs, how many honors that Tony and Ginobili had playing internationally?
Yeah, he was considered
professionally.
Tony Kukoc was considered the Michael Jordan of Europe. That was the label. He was the Michael Jordan of Europe. He was that kind of.
And that's not
Also,
taking anything away from Derek and that great run he had at Memphis,
not at all. No,
or
not
even
at
what
all.
he accomplished at Simeon. But I mean, like, people don't get into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame because of what they did in high school. That's not a thing. It's collegiate, it's international, and it's the NBA. And no disrespect to D Rose, but you're disrespecting Tony Kukoc and Manu right now. You need to stop that.
I think all three of those guys, you cannot tell the story of basketball without the early 2010s, like Bulls versus Heat, Bulls versus LeBron, Derek versus LeBron. I mean, that's like a part of NBA history. The Spurs dynasty, are you kidding me? Like, Ginobili is, come on.
Right.
And then Kukoc, same thing. I mean, like, we're talking about the greatest dynasty of all time. Kukoc is like a huge
and Brian in the comments pointing out also that Tony and Ginobili won a lot in the NBA also.
as well.
Tony's got 3 rings.
In addition to
Ginobili has 5? Does he, or 4? Was he
5.
there for 99?
No,
think
4.
just 4.
4.
Yeah.
4.
3, 5, 7, and 14.
Yeah, there's still a lot of rings.
4 rings.
4 of them things.
All right, moving on. We've got some injury updates for tonight's game, including
Zach.
we've got Devin Vassell, questionable with an injury. I think he has actually been ruled out. We've got Primo. There's weird stuff going on there. And then Zach LaVine. We will get to those injury updates coming up next. But first, NBA fans, the wait's over. Basketball is back. We're watching Bulls Spurs tonight. So tip off the season with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA and our official sports betting partner at CHGO. New customers can make any $5 NBA moneyline bet and get $200 in free bets if your team wins.
Free.
And check this out. In addition to those usual bets, everyone can boost their winnings up to 100% with that DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlay. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in, and place a stepped-up same-game parlay tonight, right now, before tip-off. You got time. With payouts bigger than ever, DraftKings Sportsbook is where I go to bet on the NBA.
Those are facts.
Boom. One more time, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code CHGO.
One more again.
Make that $5 moneyline bet this week and get $200 in free bets if your team wins. So
200.
simple. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code CHGO.
Bow.
Wow.
I'm his hype man. I do the ad libs. I'm like the Migos over here, Joey.
Yeah.
My ad libs are on point. Do you know what that means when I just said?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Something about Amigos?
Yeah, yeah. You know the rap group, the Migos.
Sure.
Okay. You know what? I shouldn't even done that. That was my fault. I take responsibility. I did.
You walked into it.
I did. I was.
Yep.
That's my fault, man. It's not yours. That was on me. That was on me. I apologize.
Just throwing me on. Oh, you know that rap group. Oh, yeah. So well versed in such things. All right, let's start with the Bulls injury report, and it is a familiar story now after we are a week plus into the season. Zach LaVine was questionable yesterday and today. About half an hour or so ago, word came down officially that Zach will be resting tonight.
Yeah.
Knee injury management, the new favorite word of Bulls, favorite phrase of Bulls fans.
Yeah.
And Billy Donovan said this earlier this week when yet again he was asked about the Zach LaVine knee situation. Joey, do we have that quote from Billy? I'm not trying to be coy or vague. I'm giving you everything I know. When he has some soreness or discomfort, we're going to look into getting him back. That's going to happen. When he's feeling really good, he has looked really, really good, even in training camp. We've got to manage him. We knew we would have to do that. He wants to play.
Fact.
So that last sentence there is, I think, a good reminder for Bulls fans who I've seen people wondering, like, is Zach got the bag, signed the contract? Is he just like taking it easy now? I was like, dude, no. We just saw how last season played out. Zach was playing through an injury that he did not have to play through.
Seriously.
So it's not that. Billy knows that. Billy's putting that on the record yet again, and appreciate Billy for doing so. But some of that kind of stuff in there from Billy is once again what you and I were just chatting about before we hopped on. Like, it's at least we're now learning that it's some sort of soreness and discomfort. It came out of nowhere when they told us he wasn't going to play their season opening game, but this is something that they're going to manage, and it sounds like have to manage for the foreseeable future.
My take on it, and this is speculation, but based on the evidence that we've seen, there was clearly something after training camp that he felt pain or discomfort, and so they held him out as a response to that. It was reactive to the pain he was having, right? And that's why he missed the first game. If he was just missing back-to-backs, but he had played that first game, I don't think anybody would really be talking about this.
Correct.
He had a knee procedure over the summer. We're taking it easy, fine. The fact that he missed that first game was weird. It's a red flag. But now it seems like until there's maybe another, and hopefully there isn't, but until there's maybe another flare-up, more discomfort, more pain, it seems like it's just going to be managing and preventative care at this point. So to me, Bulls have a big game tomorrow night at home against the 76ers, who are not looking great. Embiid is not playing, so he's presumably going to be playing tomorrow night. When I say not playing, they're playing the Raptors tonight. So my thought on this is that they're just holding him out of games that they need to, that they feel like they can maybe win without him in back-to-back situations, and then bring him back for like the games where he's more needed. And tomorrow night will certainly be the case. And as we all know, the Bulls have never beaten Joel Embiid in his NBA career, and so they'll have their chance tomorrow.
Yeah, I think yes, everything you just said, absolutely right. And that's the biggest thing. That first game, that was it. If he played that, and even if he looked bad in that, it wouldn't have mattered. No, everybody would have said, well, yeah, he has knee surgery.
Giving him time,
he's
like working his way back, didn't play.
Yeah, would have been regular, normal stuff. But you're right. That first game is when the alarms went off for everyone. I did not expect him to play tonight at all. It was a back-to-back.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm like, he's not going to play.
And if you're going to sit one of these two games, you sit tonight.
This is the one, exactly, because tomorrow is a big old game. It's at home, like you said. Never have beaten Philadelphia 76ers, and it's the Eastern Conference foe. So, yeah, I expect him to sit this one out. DeMar's night, it's what he's going to do, and then he comes back tomorrow. Also, I mean, for me, this is now par for the course for NBA players now, though, just in general. Like Kawhi Leonard, like, look at it. He was out 2 years. And he's still like, I need a game off. Right, you know what I'm saying? He's still like, I need a game off.
Forgot Kawhi was in the league for a while
Exactly, man. So, yeah, like, it's par for the course for me now. It's like, okay, well, yeah, he's not going to play. He's not going to be in there. They're going to manage the knee issues and things like that. But until I see it truly disturbing him on the floor, the one thing we've seen, as we talked about, was the explosiveness is not there yet. And that's going to come back. At least in my opinion, it's going to come back.
Yeah, we're witnessing Zach play below the rim, which is an indicator.
And still shooting, like 58% from three? Something stupid like that on like 8 attempts. Like,
But I do think that, like, because there were these red flags, because he did have discomfort, I think we do need to be concerned about that a little bit. It does not seem to be affecting their plan to hold him out of games or when they're doing like this injury management thing. But like the fact that there was pain coming off the surgery and it happened, that means it could potentially happen again. So we will have to like monitor that. And I think it's important that they're now doing this injury management thing. It just, the way that it happened, the timing of it, the fact that he missed that first game, I think was what sort of blew this out of proportion.
Agreed.
Okay, so to the Spurs injuries, Devin Vassell out tonight with a knee. He's been playing well for them, nearly 20 points a game thus far, on almost 40% shooting on over 8 attempts behind the arc per game. Not to mention 5 boards and 4.5 assists. He's chipping in on the defensive end as well. So tough loss for the Spurs not having Vassell tonight. But the big story is that, like, just under an hour ago, we were sitting here at the office, and then, Will and I saw these, tweet alerts coming through at the same time. Josh Primo was on the injury report with a glute and questionable to play tonight. Instead, the Spurs released a press release saying that they have waived Josh Primo, their 12th overall pick from last year's draft, the 21 NBA draft, who had been doing good things for the Spurs so far this season off the bench. Averaging 4.5 assists per game off the bench for them. Here is that press release in case you haven't seen it. The Spurs today announced they have waived Josh Primo. It is our hope that in the long run, this decision will serve the best interest of both the organization and Joshua, said Spurs Sports and Entertainment CEO R.C. Buford. Primo was selected by the Spurs' 12th pick in the 21 draft. The Spurs organization, including front office executives, coaching staff, and players, will have no additional comments to share at this time.
Wow.
WTF.
I'm like, it definitely was a glute because they kicked him in his ass out of the gym, man. Wow. It's a shocker. You know what I mean? It's surprising. I don't know what was said. I don't know what was done. We do know that Pop does not tolerate things. You know what I mean?
Right.
He won't tolerate, and he would definitely cut off his nose to spite his face.
Yeah.
You know, he does not care about those things, man. It doesn't care how many points you're averaging, whatever. Remember when that's the reason, the whole reason Ginobili became a guy off the bench was because Pop was like, no, this is where you're going to play. We don't care that what you feel that you should be a starter. This is where you're going to be. You're going to be on that bench. Deal with it. And obviously it worked out wonderfully.
And Will, we saw the tweet from Bobby Marks also pointing out the fact that just 2 weeks ago, they picked up the team option to bring him back next year, the third year of his rookie deal.
Yeah.
So something happened between 2 weeks ago and now. And he's been producing for them.
I hesitate to make jokes about this because it's like my initial response is like something happened.
Something clearly.
And
Yeah.
it's clearly not a good thing. Otherwise they wouldn't just – I mean, this is like if the Bulls just waived Dalen Terry tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
And maybe even like more important because he was a lottery pick. Really weird. Does not seem like the Spurs are going to give out any more information. So at some point we'll hear. But like something bad I think clearly happened without speculating too much. I mean, this is just unprecedented.
AJ Ace in the comments pointing out, hey, Primo said that he grew up being a big DeMar DeRozan fan in Toronto and was excited to play with him before DeRozan left to join the Bulls. Pick him up maybe? Let's wait.
Let's wait and see.
And see what else we learn in the coming hours, days, etc. for why they waived him. Because the timing of them waiving him out of the blue like this is weird and
like
definitely sets off some alarm bells.
Tip off of a game too. It's like
exactly.
It's all so weird.
It's super weird, man. I'm just hoping some video doesn't come out. Is what I'm saying. Like
Larry just said in the comments, TMZ. I mean, let's hope it's not that. Let's hope it's not that.
Yeah, man. Like seriously, I just hope it's basketball related. I'll say that. I just hope everything is basketball related, and they just don't like him anymore.
Or maybe like Primo doesn't, want to live in San Antonio, and it's time to move on for him personally because who would want to live in San Antonio?
He's tired
I'm sure
of the
it's a hellhole.
Yeah, he's tired of the Riverwalk, walking around it. Yeah, tired of talking about Sean Elliott. I guess.
So very, very strange. We'll see if we get any more news on that tonight throughout the course of tonight's game. Clearly, and so like that press release came out must have been just before Pop did his pregame media availability because then I also saw some tweets saying that Pop declined to comment on it and said we're going to let that press release speak for itself for now.
Wow.
So Pop doesn't want to talk about it.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know what it was, man, but it's not sounding good. I'll say that. It's just not sounding good. But I love how you said it, man. Just wait. Yeah. Let's see what comes out. Let's see what's happening and play that game before we make basketball decisions yet.
Right.
So, yeah.
Like I saw some Bulls fan talking about like, can we get Miles Bridges on Twitter the other day? I was like, you know what's going on with Miles Bridges, right? How about no?
Is that your niece's on there?
Yeah.
That is your niece?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
In the Bulls onesie that I got.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Shout out to Em, my sister, who got me this mug.
That is the coolest thing ever.
Drinking tea instead of beer. Friday sucks.
I'm rubbing off on Matt.
Oh, yeah. Oh, please.
I'm taking credit for it.
Okay, you can take credit for me drinking tea instead of beer while I'm sick.
Yes, I'm taking all the credit.
All right, guys. With our remaining time, quick look at the Spurs, who most people saw as one of the few teams who would actually be aggressively tanking this season.
Yeah.
Trying to get into those Wembanyama sweepstakes. But they're 3-2 out of the gate. They've got wins over Indiana, Philly, and Minnesota, losses to Minnesota and also Charlotte. Keldon Johnson leading the way for them. It's been mostly Johnson and Vassell, but Johnson at just shy of 22 points per game. And if you look at what he's done by the numbers through his first 4 NBA seasons, this is year 4 for him. You see points going up, you see shots per game going up, and you see usage going up with significant jumps here from last season to the early start of this season. And he's scoring in a lot of ways, scoring at all 3 levels. Not much of a mid-range guy, but I did notice that he's upped his volume and his finishing from 3 to 10 feet so far this season. He's always been a very deadly three-point shooter, hovering around 40% his entire career thus far, and he's getting better finishing at the rim. Keldon Johnson, man, like maybe fringe consideration for All-Star this season, especially if the Spurs are winning games.
Maybe. And it's interesting. I'm glad you highlighted his usage rate and his field goal attempts, because if you just look at his stats, let me just tell you how my brain works. When I look at it, I look at you immediately. I'm looking at field goal percentage, 3-pointers, things like that, because I always think, well, there's going to be an uptick in that, and that's probably why you have more points and things like that. they've been pretty much the same. You know what I'm saying, over those years. But what has changed? What has changed is the opportunity, as Matt showed, the usage rate, the field goal attempts. Now he started out, when he got there, he was 5.2 field goals attempts a game. He is now 17.8. He started off 2.4. Excuse me. He started off 1.3 3-pointer attempts a game. He's at 8 this season, man. He's getting those attempts up, and that's the awesome thing about it. And once a guy and free throws attempts have gone up also, and it's funny, the percentages just aren't changing major, but he's getting the opportunity to do it now, and he's thriving in the opportunity. It seems like,
and that's pretty unique. I think a lot of times when you have high efficiency, low volume guys, when you start to jack up the volume and the usage, the efficiency starts to go down. I think that's an indicator of just him being really good. And he's one of those guys that is just a pop guy. I mean, he brought him to Team USA. He's really developed him. And now with Derek White and DeJounte Murray and, LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan, all those guys out of town, he's the one with the ball in his hands. I'm a huge Devin Vassell fan. I was bummed that we're not going to see him. But, the offense is now going through Keldon Johnson. They've got some interesting young players. And, yeah, I'm excited to watch some of these young teams. Yeah. Also, Jakob Poeltl's really good.
He's a double machine for them so far this season.
One of the best rim protectors in the league.
He's averaging 15 and 10. Also, sort of along the same lines of Vooch, maybe an underappreciated facilitator and passer as far as big man go. He's averaging 3.6 assists per game so far this season.
He makes Andre Drummond look like Steph Curry at the free throw line, I'll tell you that.
Drummond percentage is hot.
Yeah, man. Until somebody jinxed him, Drummond was 100% from the free throw line.
Killing him out there.
Jakob Poeltl is like a 40% free throw shooter. It's rough.
Yeah.
That's not good.
So what are the Bulls facing tonight? By the way, starting lineup is out for the Spurs. Trey Jones, Richardson, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sochan, and Jakob Poeltl. So that's still a solid starting five, even without Devin Vassell's services.
Not bad at all.
What do the Spurs do well? They are a top 10 team thus far in three-point shooting.
Yes.
8th in the NBA at 38.6% on 35 shots behind the arc per game. They also, it's the Spurs, move the ball well. Might not surprise many of you that the Spurs are in what place in the NBA so far in team assists per game?
Number 1.
5?
Dave is correct. Lead the NBA with 30.8 assists per game.
Wow.
That would make who's so proud. We're going to average 35 assists per game this season, you guys.
I'm going to let that go because how you feel. I'm going to let it go.
He worked with Greg Popovich back in the day. Not many people know that.
That's why the Bulls hired him. Seriously.
Oh, my life. I did it to myself.
You do.
But the Spurs, I think the Bulls can put up some points tonight because their defense is lacking. They are dead last in the NBA in opponents' field goal percentage thus far this season. They are letting their opponents shoot just over 50% from the field.
Ooh, this is a night, one, for DeMar DeRozan, but also for a guy like Kobe White.
Yeah.
To finally get it going for themselves. They'll get these opportunities, you know what I'm saying, to get these shots up. So look at those two guys is what I'm saying.
Also, despite Jakob Poeltl, who, as you mentioned, will, quality rim protecting, the Spurs thus far, and again, small sample size, it's October, 28th in the NBA in defensive rebounding. 28th. So, as we have seen Vooch and Drummond, among others, do some solid work on the offensive glass so far in the Bulls' first 5 games, crash the boards tonight.
Crash.
Especially you, Drummond. Go crazy.
That's what he do, baby. Two-Face. I call him Two-Face.
I like that.
Thank you.
So, look, I think maybe if Bulls fans looked at the slate of the first 6 games the Bulls had this season, not only are you talking about a lot of games in a short amount of days, saw this Spurs game as one of the more winnable ones on the schedule.
Yeah.
This is no bum team.
No.
The Spurs are surprising people. Secrets out, the Spurs don't actually suck that badly, and they are 3-2 coming into tonight's action on their home floor. It's going to be tough for the Bulls to win this game.
You know what's interesting? I never consider the Spurs a bum team, even when they are retooling or rebuilding.
They played the Bulls really well last year. Of course, they had Derek White and DeJounte Murray at that point. But
but Jakob Poeltl had a great game too, though. He really did.
They're just always a team that comes out and plays.
They'll be
hard,
ready.
And that's testament to Pop.
They'll be ready, man. And that ball will be moving. Them assists ain't going to stop. The ball will be moving for sure.
AK pointing out in the comments, Spurs bench getting it done. 42.4 points per game from the Spurs reserves tonight. So Bulls second unit, which has really been carrying them in some of these wins,
Yeah.
going to have their hands full tonight as well.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. It is 7:30.
Can I plug 2 things real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
You mentioned the bench. I wrote about Goran Dragic and the bench today. I'm going to retweet it right now. You should go read that.
True magic.
Because I spent a lot of time on it, and it would make me happy if you read it. Secondly, Mark and I are going to try out this thing called Playback, where we are going to watch the game and basically give commentary. So I'll tweet out a link for that. You can come join, hang out, and listen to us. We'll chat with you in the comments, maybe get some people up on stage. I think it'll be fun. So check that out. Look for the link on Twitter.
Will and Mark, Bulls HQ. Tune in. We will be back here for postgame.
Yes.
Following the conclusion of Bulls and Spurs. Hit that thumbs up button on this episode before you head out of here. Make sure you subscribe to CHGO Sports YouTube channel if you aren't already.
Do that.
And we will talk to you for postgame. For Joey, Will, and Big Dave,
I'm with you,
I'm
Larry.
Matt. Thanks for watching us. We'll see you for postgame. Go Bulls. See you, Red. Be good.
Peace.